This is The Download from Sounds Profitable, your daily source for the essential news in the business of podcasting. I'm Gavin Gaddis. Here's what you need to know for today, Thursday, July 24th. First up, what I learned from the longest-running one-person show in Vegas. During a recent vacation to Italy, Tom Webster attended a lecture from magician Mac King, who has run a one-man show in Vegas for 20 years. An important lesson podcasting could benefit from at this lecture is King's response to a question about how he always seems so fresh while doing his act. King has repeated the same effects in the same order hundreds of times a year, but he also takes great care to incorporate audience participation. As Webster says, everything an audience gives a performer is a gift, and it's an opportunity for the performer to demonstrate they actually listen and care for said audience. Something even podcasts that don't do live shows could take advantage of by incorporating some live element into their work, even if it's simply using YouTube premieres to hang out in live text chat while audiences watch a new episode of the podcast for the first time. Next up, super listeners make up just 2% of an artist's monthly streaming audience, yet buy 50% of concert tickets, Spotify says. We love a headline that puts everything in it. While Superfan is an existing segment researcher Luminate uses to classify 18% of U.S. music audiences who heavily listen to audio, Spotify's super listener classification is so strict it only includes 2% of users on the platform, focusing on the kind of listener who consumes an artist's music 20 times more often than those who simply listen to a track because it was recommended or included in a playlist. Super listeners are 9 times more likely to share music with their friends and account for, as the headline said, 50% of artist ticket sales initiated through Spotify. One has to wonder how high the super listener percentage is in the world of podcasting, given podcast audiences inherently are practiced at committing even more time to listening to full episodes of podcasts than music listeners are to individual songs. And for the final top story, Tig Notaro, Fortune Feimster, and Mae Martin to receive Best Podcast Award at Just for Laughs. International Comedy Festival Just for Laughs has announced they will be giving the chat podcast Handsome its Podcast of the Year award during the festival's annual awards ceremony. While this award is not record-breaking or industry-shattering, it is worth noting that it exists. Podcast of the Year was not a category at Just for Laughs as recently ago as 2022. Comedy podcasting is a juggernaut, and it's becoming more and more likely that a name-brand comedian will have at least a standing invitation on a podcast or two, if not actively producing a podcast of their own. As for the rest of the news, Triton Digital has published the June edition of their Canada podcast ranker, including CBC/Radio Canada remaining the top sales network with 2.2 million average weekly downloads. Podcast Advertising Playbook host Heather Osgood has a new interview with Media Body's founder Ed Fuller discussing why podcast ads aren't just another media buy. Motivational speaker Mick Hunt has signed his show Mick Unplugged to Realm for exclusive distribution and representation for multi-channel monetization. Writer and critic Ben Sixsmith offers 5 do as I say, not as I do bits of advice to podcasters based on mistakes he's made as a podcast guest. Time has published the top 100 podcasts of all time list, causing hot debate on social media as readers note a marked lack of fiction entries. And for a bit of fun to end out your day, Tammy Rogers on Tom's Guide has a list of 5 secret features, air quotes, hidden within Spotify that you might not have stumbled across yet, including the ability to play Snake with your playlists. Be sure to check out the links to every article I've mentioned right in the show notes in your podcast listening app, or you can go to the download section of soundsprofitable.com, where you could also subscribe to get the newsletter version while you're there. The Download is written and produced by myself, Brian Barletta, and Tom Webster. For Sounds Profitable, I'm Gavin Gaddis, and I'll see you tomorrow for the Download Recap.